In this video, we're going to talk about the Little Rock Nine and how this group of nine African American students made history. In 1954, the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, had won a key ruling in the Supreme Court that declared that black and white children should be allowed to attend the same school. The challenge now was to make this a reality, and the key test came in Little Rock, Arkansas in September 1957, where those nine black students attempted to attend an all-white high school. September 23rd, 1957 was no ordinary day for Elizabeth Eckward and 8 other African American teenagers in Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock Central High School, like many schools across the country, was segregated. Only white students were allowed to attend, but the Supreme Court had ruled that segregation or legal separation of black and whites in public facilities was illegal, and these 9 students, who would become known as the Little Rock Nine, would be the first African Americans to attend Little Rock High School. As they drove towards the school that morning, the students knew that what awaited them, an angry group of white protesters. Just a few weeks before, the 9 had walked past such a crowd at the high school's entrance. That morning, Arkansas's National Guardsmen had turned the 9 away, and along with police stood by while the mob pelted the black students' cars with stones and assaulted them and threatened their lives. The right to an equal education had been granted to African American students in 1954 by the United States Supreme Court when it ruled that segregation was illegal. Unfortunately, 3 years later, many African Americans were still enforced to go to separate and inferior schools. African Americans also still suffered under Jim Crow laws, which forced them to use separate public facilities, such as city buses, restaurants, hotels, public bathrooms, and even public water fountains were segregated. Much of the focus of the civil rights movement was on education, as they believed that with good education, African Americans could be in better jobs, gain influence in American society. But overcoming school segregation, especially in the South, meant facing extreme opposition and risking extreme violence. Little Rock Central High became an important test. When the Little Rock Nine arrived at school that September morning, they entered the building through a side door. A white student led into the principal's office where they were registered for class. But when the protesters outside realised the students were entered the school, they exploded into violence. Once again, the Little Rock Nine were forced to leave the school, but again, they would not give up. The next day, the Little Rock Nine returned to the high school, this time protected by the United States Army troops sent by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. And you can see those Army troops here protecting the students. For the Little Rock Nine, the battle was only beginning. Throughout the next year, they faced physical and verbal assault from white students, as well as death threats against themselves, their families, and other members of the black community. And one of the 9, Minnie Jean Brown, was expelled from Central after fighting against white students who abused her. But the following May, Ernest Green became the first African American student ever to graduate from Central High. The courageous acts of the Little Rock Nine had helped open the door of education for African Americans all across the United States.